Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Reframe Your Health podcast. I'm Dr. Labib. Beside me is, as usual, my co-host, Dr. Yusuf. Pregnancy is a journey. Actually, it's a natural journey, but it's a very powerful opportunity for women to take care of their health and take care of the health of their unborn children. Anything you do during pregnancy, whether it's your sleep, whether your food, your habits, all will pay off later on in your life and the life of your kids. So today we're going to actually talk, and this is a very special episode for us. We're going to talk about pregnancy, but more specifically, biohacking pregnancy. And before we start, I'm going to ask Dr. Yusuf to define what biohacking is, because this is a buzzword that's all over social media and people are just afraid of this word. So let's first define what biohacking is, and then let's tell people why we're talking about biohacking in pregnancy.
Thank you, Labib. So biohacking is, in simple terms, using science, technology, and innovation, and on top of that, self-experimentation to optimize your health. So that's pretty much what biohacking is.
Yeah, I think the problem, a lot of people think it's only for rich people or, very, Silicon Valley people, athletes, people are very, no, it doesn't have to be like this. It can be very simple techniques or tools. And yes, you can take it further to very sophisticated things, especially nowadays with a lot of, AI applications and stuff. You can take it further, but this is not the purpose of, the book that we just wrote. Actually, the book took us almost a year to finish. It needed a lot of research because a lot of the things when it comes to pregnancy, it's not easy to find, solid literature. It's not easy to do research during pregnancy. It's a very difficult arena. Doing research when it comes to women's health is also very scarce. Unfortunately, most of the funding of big governmental agencies go to men and other researchers, and women only. Like a small percentage of this funding goes to women's health. But this is beside the point.
Right.
So it took us a year, but why did we write the book?
We wanted to pretty much redefine how we approach pregnancy. We wanted to bring in, the realm of biohacking into pregnancy, which pregnancy by itself is not a very, very well researched. There's research in pregnancy, but there's not a whole lot of, funding that goes in there. Yeah. So we decided to bring in practical biohacking.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, people biohack all their life, let's say, or during their life. So why not do it in pregnancy and start early? Because you're biohacking the woman's health and her body, but at the same time, this is affecting the fetus and eventually the baby. And we know from a lot of studies that, whatever you're exposed to in utero, this could affect you in the long term as far as chronic diseases, including obesity, asthma, diabetes. So we know this for a fact. There's a lot of research when it comes to what we call the Barker theory or the theory of adult diseases. Yeah. So it starts in the womb. So why not start biohacking early on? And this is how the idea, I think, started.
And I mean, it's really important to know that it's one of a kind. It's the first book that tackles biohacking in pregnancy. So we kind of wanted this to be like a stepping stone. Why not open the door and see what comes after this? If anybody wants to build on our book, that's amazing. Yeah. So we want it to be, like a stepping stone, a starting, for people to open up their eyes about the world of biohacking.
Yeah, so it's more like a call for action, to people, have an open mind about these things. And like you said, it's not easy. The researching every single tool, we couldn't find a lot of literature when it comes to certain things. So the book basically is not intended for medical guidance. You have to follow what your doctor tells you. This can be, extra tools that you can use, and we made sure that they're evidence-based as much as possible and safe for you and for your baby. But again, a disclaimer that this does not replace the pure prenatal care. And then again, this book, we learned few things. Even being a maternal fetal medicine specialist, I still learned few things that I didn't know. And so I mean, the book can be read
by anybody.
By anybody, exactly.
Anybody, any healthcare professional can read it. Mommies to be.
Even daddies,
you know, that too.
Yeah.
And just anybody who really wants to learn about pregnancy and, help somebody start their journey. So there was a lot of different aspects that we wanted to tackle in our book. So we started with, we tackled nutrition, we tackled exercise, sleep, recovery, and then we went into the depth of each. We wanted to start by educating our crowd. As you mentioned, this book is not intended to replace a doctor, but it's information out there.
Exactly.
So we wanted to educate people, and on top of that, we started adding things to kind of like, that some of them are not necessarily fully science evidence-based, but they're safe and they can...
Some things make sense too.
Right.
And then again, we use a lot of the things that are done outside pregnancy and check to see, if they're safe in pregnancy. But I think the major, chapters that, we tackled is, the food, nutrition is very important. The gut, which is something new, talking about the gut during pregnancy and how it can affect your hormone production, how it can affect, some certain complications that can happen in pregnancy related to the gut. Again, the evidence is still early in that area of medicine, but I think it's going to be, we're going to dive into it more.
Yep.
Because the gut, we produce a lot of the hormones there. It can be related to our brain, to how we feel, the inflammation in our body, which can lead to complications, preterm labor, preeclampsia. So again, we're not saying these are the causes of these complications, but maybe we should look in the gut.
Yeah.
So yes, what can we talk about? Things that maybe some people don't know, things that could be new that they will learn in the book. What are things that, while doing your research, you came across?
Right, so if we go into the, chapter by chapter, when we dive into the nutrition, and then we're going to give them all the information about the macros and then the micronutrients that are needed, how you can tweak your diet trimester by trimester so that you get the best nutrition for you and your child. And then obviously with some advanced testing, you mentioned the gut, there's some advanced testing like nutrigenomics that, again, they're not evidence-based yet, but if somebody wants to kind of experiment, why not? It doesn't harm as long as they're not going too much into a restrictive diet, which we talk about, the restrictive diets, all these crazy diets that you can see out there that pregnant women should not be implementing. These are also tackled in the book.
Intermittent fasting, for example,
Right.
this is something that a lot of people do for weight loss or even for longevity. Can you do this in pregnancy? So this is what we tackle.
Right.
I'm not going to give the answers because we want people to read the book. But yeah, this is, for example, one thing. Nutrigenomics, what Dr. Yusuf was mentioning. So basically, you get tested based on your genes to see how your genes interact with your food and how food interacts with your genes. And this is important because our food today is depleted of a lot of nutrients. And based on our genetics, we can tailor a certain diet, supplementation, and it's different from one person to another, whether you have, a high-risk pregnancy or a low-risk pregnancy. But again, most of these things we talk about are probably applicable to low-risk pregnancies. High-risk pregnancies have to be...
Category by itself.
Yes, exactly. These are, more complicated and, you can't apply everything.
Now, certain things that we discuss in our books would avoid potentially a high-risk pregnancy.
Exactly.
If you start finding out, the signs early on, you can avoid the complication. We talk about glucose monitoring. We talk about, various wearable devices that can actually help you identify a potential problem later on in pregnancy.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, while writing the book, I started imagining, a pregnant woman, with all, these wearable devices where her, heart rate variability is monitored, her sleep, make sure she's sleeping well based on these data. She has, her nutrigenomics out there, the supplements that are tailored for her pregnancy. Again, this is not like the future. I think this is going to happen soon. And again, it's not for only the rich and the fancy people. It can be available. It will be available for everyone, probably in the near future. But yeah, like glucose monitoring, heart rate variability, your sleep is so important. The exercise actually, monitoring your temperature during exercise is so important because you don't want your temperature to, be very high. It can be associated with fetal malformations in the first trimester. So there are things that make sense that we never think about. But yeah, again, we're not gonna give all the nice surprises in the book.
But we do dive into exercise.
Yes,
we go trimester specific each trimester, which exercise is attainable, which is not, which ones are safe, which ones are not, which ones will combine cardio and muscle strengthening at the same time. So we dive into all that, and then we dive into recovery. How do you recover? Because in the biohacking realm, recovery is a big thing. There's a lot of devices, etc.
Cold plunges.
Which ones of those are okay in pregnancy? And if you want to experiment with these, what are some safe measures you can use and how you can safely apply these things to your pregnancy?
Exactly. But again, before experimenting on your own, check with your provider, make sure, because not all these hacks are beneficial, even outside pregnancy. Right. So we know like cold plunges and saunas are beneficial for people, but not for everyone. Some people do not respond well. And so again, be careful. The physiology in pregnancy changes, your heart rate goes up, your cardiac output changes. So there's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. But one of the things I like is the glucose monitoring, the continuous glucose monitoring, especially when you have someone that has, let's say, polycystic ovaries, your favorite topic. We know they're prone for diabetes or gestation diabetes. So by monitoring their sugar, maybe they can catch gestation diabetes a little bit earlier, although it's not for diagnosis, but it's for monitoring. So it might, open an eye that, this is happening.
Again, when we talk about these devices, we educate first what is normal and what's not normal in our book chapters. And then we tell people, if you want to use them, you can use them safely in order to start picking up what's something alarming. If you find something alarming, talk to your doctor. And then if you notice that there's a pattern with certain types of food that are not working out for you, eliminate them. Eat something else.
And still, you can do gut testing if you're interested in pregnancy. You can take probiotics. You can take certain things to help with a lot of the acid reflux that happens in pregnancy. So there are multiple things that you can do. But again, you don't have to be overwhelmed. The pregnancy is a natural process, but unfortunately, we're not living in a natural environment. So we have to kind of go back to our roots and try to mimic a more natural way of things and avoid toxins, which is also a part of the book that we talked about, because we know toxins can be associated with multiple things. But I think this book at some point might need, maybe in a year or two, might need to be revamped, and we have to add things, change things, because this field is evolving like crazy. So
and we also have to remind everybody that what we're writing in this book is practical biohacking techniques. We're not talking about some crazy inventions, big multi-million-dollar testing and stuff. No, these are practical things. We actually talk about the basics of a healthy pregnancy. Eating well, moving, sleeping, maintain a good relationship.
The things we used to tell patients, but now at least we know you can talk more about things that you can tweak that can help you more and improve things. And I think our goal also was to make this word biohacking not something to be scared of or nothing, make it available for everybody.
From this planet.
Democratize health and call it biohacking, call it whatever you want. It's not the wording, but I think going back to the basics and to our biology is the main thing. And one chapter that Dr. Mali Malouf also contributed to is about sexual health during pregnancy, how important it is, how a woman's body changes, all this things, techniques. The pelvic floor is so important when it comes to the pregnancy, the postpartum phase. So she tackles this in her chapter, and I think this is also very interesting, for women to know, because sex is and their sexual health is part of our health. So
what was your favorite chapter?
I think my favorite one, the one I learned most, is the one that I wrote about the advanced biohacking techniques. again, like the HRV monitoring during pregnancy. There are some studies actually that are done on HRV.
So what's HRV? So that we let people
heart rate variability. And then, this is kind of related to your stress levels and your anxiety. So there are some studies in pregnancy related to that. Of course, the glucose, monitoring. Some of these, newer apps that can, test your gut at home, and then you can also tailor your diet accordingly. Some breath analysis testing that can also help you. So I think that chapter was the interesting part to me, learning about these applications. But every day I open social media, I see a new, device. So it's so overwhelming, and I can understand that, you cannot, cover all these in one book. So this has to be, an evolving process for sure.
My favorite part was talking about, in one of the chapters we tackle stress and anxiety. Because it's such a big thing that, pregnancy by itself is such an overwhelming thing. The stress of pregnancy, making sure that you're doing everything right and you're preparing and everything. So how do we educate our patients, and how do we teach them how to use anything that's innovative in order to reduce stress and anxiety? And I was able to learn a lot as well. I started applying things on myself. It doesn't have to be purely for pregnant patients, but certain techniques that can be applied to anybody. And that was my favorite part because, I understood how important it is to reduce stress. It's such a huge burden.
Yeah. I think it's a difficult, when you tell people, reduce your stress, without giving them practical things, it's not easy. But definitely even, like starting before pregnancy, so biohack or improve your health before pregnancy is as important as the pregnancy, and after pregnancy to recover. But also dads, reducing the stress when it comes to fathers. The sperm count will change, motility, morphology, fragmentation of the DNA will change when you are stressed, when you are exposed to toxins. So these can apply to dads too.
And productivity will change.
Absolutely.
They want to also prepare for the incoming, family, part of the family.
Yeah, and there's one thing also you wrote in the book about your wife, inspiring you to get into this type of, lifestyle, or so. Tell us more, like how did Anna get you into this?
It's, we are in the medical field. We're so stuck in one direction. What we're usually taught in the books and the research and etc. We just don't have the time to kind of take a break, stop, and look left and right. And this is where, the role of my wife came in, and she started opening up my mind into.
But why did she get into this to start with? Did she?
Well, she's a curious person in general. Yeah. She always wants to know more, and not necessarily just take whatever you tell her as an answer. She would ask me something, and I would give her an answer, and I could tell that she was expecting more.
I don't envy you.
She always wanted more and more and more. And I'm like, but there's no more. But sure enough, there was more.
She was asking the why, which is
exactly. There was more. I just was not aware of it, or I would just get stuck in the old-fashioned ways of doing things. But when I started to stop, look, I started to find out that there's actually more.
Yeah.
And that's how she helped me with, getting into functional medicine as well, and looking at not necessarily all the traditional things that how we used to do.
Yeah. Having, I think, an open mind is key when it comes to those things. The problem is, like I said, in pregnancy, people freak out. Right. You have two humans at the same time. And there's so many myths out there about how to sit in pregnancy and how to sleep, and don't move in the first trimester, and don't do that, and don't eat that. So there's so many myths that we've tackled in the past. We've talked about them, but I think instead of concentrating on myths, concentrate on things that are beneficial to you, that can improve your health. Even small tweaks, even small increments and improvement in your health in pregnancy will come a long way, especially for your kids.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge when it comes to pregnancy and biohacking will be the self-experimentation, right? It's a big ethical thing, letting someone just experiment whatever they want.
Yeah.
Obviously people can do whatever they want, but our role as doctors to know what's evidence-based and to just guide them in the right way to achieve a healthy pregnancy.
I think that's the part in the ethical things when we talk about biohacking. Where is this going? Are we going to be able to, change genetic expressions in the babies and during pregnancy? I mean, I don't know where we're going to go. There's, of course, a lot of, genetic testing done and a lot of genetic manipulation, but how ethical it's going to be. But this is an extreme of biohacking. Right. We are working more on the, let's say, the basics.
Practical.
And, our grand parents' way of life, let's say, in a modern world.
What you should
with
have
electricity
attained,
and internet and AI,
correct.
I guess.
What you should have attained, but now you have all the tech that's available for you to use it. It's like a cycle of doing things. Anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, just, the book is done. We're at the last stages of, publishing it. People will be able to find it on Amazon worldwide. Of course, we're going to have it in an ebook as well as in hard copies. And, hopefully it won't be the first one. Hopefully next year we'll be able to, maybe improve on it, change the title, give it maybe, something new that we don't know of, and that way we'll learn, we'll be able to educate people. Well, that's my message.
It is the first one of its kind.
Exactly.
So hopefully it will be coming out very soon in the coming, hopefully weeks.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about doing like a mini launch party.
Yes.
We'll keep you all updated about it. But until then, I guess we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for your attention and thank you for listening. And we'll see you very soon in a new episode of Reframe Your Health. Thank you.